This is Duke University.
Global trade and environmental justice.
Human rights issues are still.
The term Ubuntu.
About the Alien and Sedition Acts.
Is making inferential discovery.
The importance of an archive.
The John Hope Franklin Center.
This was one of the things that we wanted to obviously look into the most was the migration. The whole channel, the whole way that it comes from Central America into Mexico and then up into the United States. So I think one of our first days we went to the Centro de Orientación del Migrante, or the Center for Orientation for the Migrant Worker. And this was founded actually by the Catholic Church in 2003. It has 47 to 50 migrant shelters that go all the way from the border up to the border with Guatemala up to the border with the United States. It follows the route of the train. I think you all have maybe seen in films the train that goes through Mexico and that the Central Americans get on and ride on the top of, along with the Mexicans, that comes up through the U.S. There's some really terrific films where that's been shown. The train goes from Chiapas on the Guatemalan border to Oaxaca and then to Veracruz and then up through the states of Tabasco, Puebla, San Luis Potosí, Tamaulipas, and Chihuahua. And a lot of people, also particularly Central Americans, seem to get off the train in Oaxaca. And they find their way to the shelter through word of mouth and so forth. And they also, on their return from the United States when they've been deported, many of them arrive in the shelter in Oaxaca. They are also, all these shelters are now seeing immigrants, but particularly the one in Oaxaca, from Cuba, India, and Asia that come through the Isthmus of Tehuantepec and are trying also to get into the United States. As I said, they're maintained and paid for by the Catholic Church as well as by volunteers who give a lot of service in the shelters as well as raise money. I thought I'd tell you what they offer. I think we were all incredibly impressed. This is the mural that when you walk in, it's a very happy place. There's a lot of art that's been done by the people who run it, as well as some of the migrants who've been staying in the area of Oaxaca. They offer 3-day room and board to everyone who arrives, free medical care. They have a clinic, which we saw. They allow every person to make telephone calls to alert their family members as to where they are. Obviously, most of them have no legal documents, either those who are coming back or those who are leaving. And so they take photographs of them and information on each refugee so they can follow up with them, and perhaps if someone is missing, they can call some of the shelters further up the line and say, have you seen so-and-so? So there's a lot of connection between all these shelters. They let them know about their rights, and they tell them of the danger of the journeys up into the United States, but they do not encourage them to go, and they do not discourage them from going. It's up to them what they decide to do. Those who are coming back, often from being deported, for example, because a lot of these people, you know, you have to think about it, and we met some, some of them have never been to Mexico. You know, they were brought to the States when they were very young, and they're completely disoriented when they get there, and they don't really know. They're going to communities that they've never been to before. Maybe they don't have any family there who's able to help them, whatever. So the shelters try to find them temporary work. And they actually can do that in Mexico. They can work temporarily without any papers. They also advise them on how they might be able to get refugee status if they're returning to a country where they would be in danger. Mexico no longer criminalizes illegal immigration, which is, I think since last April, that was changed in the Mexican law. They help the families. That was another really important part of what COMI does. Is to help the families of the migrants, because, you know, people are disappeared and they're lost, and the family members have no idea where they are. So they give them consultation. They try to, as I said, contact different organizations to see if they can find where someone might have ended up. And they told us about all the communication they have with, particularly in Arizona, because, you know, most people now are going through the desert. So one really statistic that I don't think any of us have ever gotten out of our minds is that there were about 700 unidentified bodies in the morgue in Tucson, Mexicans or Latinos, and none of them had been identified. So you can imagine all the people that are also lost elsewhere before they ever get to the morgue in Tucson. They have a lot of problems. One of them is that they have to watch out for the smugglers. They try to get into the shelters to recruit people, what we call the coyotes and the polleros, because they want to get in the shelters illegally, obviously, and say, hey, come on, let's go. I'll take you to the States, and you can pay me so much money when you get there. The police often try to bother the migrants that are coming to the shelters. They're not supposed to, but they often do. In Mexico, only the federal police can detain immigrants from other countries. There was a lot more, obviously, and we really, really got a lot out of our visit there. We were able to talk to migrants, one man from, I think, El Salvador, who was trying to get to the States to visit his sons and so forth and so on. But it was very impressive to see what's being done by, you know, local resources and local people.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.